Welcome on in, members of the chapter. A new year, a new potential for new shiny action figures. But we have some holdovers from the past year that we need to review. So in this one, we are going to be taking a look at the Crimson Paladins for the Blood Angels and see exactly what JoyToy has cooked us up in the kitchen. So let's get to the review. Looking at the top area of this action figure, you can clearly see that there's extensive shading, especially in the center region. I like this touch that JoyToy gave due to the added depth that the shading adds. The golden vine-like decorations in the area screams Blood Angel's ornateness and is very suitable to this figure, although I'm not too sure what is up with this black blood tier that contrasts against the rest of the figure. The helmet sports a nice green targeting array, while the green lens looks fantastic against the matte red of the figure. The black of the helmet also stands boldly to the red of the figure as well. There is no question that the golden winged blood tier and the 9th Legion Roman numeral sits very prominently atop the pauldrons. The leather fringe sports bronze tiers all around, and there is nice patterning on the forearm. Front and center with the chest region are more graphic type vines with a blood tier at the center of it. I really like the symmetry with the designs that fit with the overall aesthetic of the Blood Angels. There is also this ribbon of plastic which is very toga-like but proves to be slightly cumbersome, which I will get to in the movement section of the review. Just like with this figure's so-called modern-day Sanguinary Guard counterparts, this one sports a nice set of muscular abs. Now typically the waist area is where there is a ton of action, but this figure seems to be an exception with only a winged blood tier and a tabard that is hanging off of it. I really like the leg area on this Marine, which is something I do not typically say when I review Space Marines. This is because this area is stuffed with decorations that draw your eye to them. Starting off, there's this fantastic gold outlining on the edges of the armor that give this area much more definition than just the base coat of red. The ornate designs on the knee and the shin are very graceful looking. Unfortunately, the back is not as graceful as the front and is devoid of any sort of decorations. However, you can see extensive shading on the edges of the armor that gives this area a bit more character. The only other thing is that you can see the presence of the power plant square on the back of the action figure. I do like the usage of the black gunmetal and gold that help this area stick out against the matte red of the armor. Now this is art. This power sword is likely the most beautiful looking power sword if I've ever seen one. I just love how elegant looking it is. GW integrated this winged blood tier as the hilt of the weapon. I think the usage of silver, gunmetal, gold, black, and red gives an excellent burst of color variety that is not seen in a lot of other weapons. This blade looks really unique with the tapering towards the middle and then widens out to the top. So this Coriolis pattern power shield apparently is the precursor to the Storm Shield and looks properly ornate and beautiful. The iconography suits the Blood Angels aesthetic perfectly with the golden vine-like designs all over the place that are weaving throughout the whole entire shield. I do appreciate the massive red blood tier in the middle with these red metallic gems at the bottom. On the back, there's a bunch of nodes that are running throughout that look like pipes, and because this pipe-like look, it gives this shield a very archaic kind of feel. There's also this handle that you can attach to the back of the shield right here, as you just saw, so the figure can grip the shield, but there is also this added extra flexible loop at the end. I love this addition of this part because I think it gives the shield more stability and puts less stress on the wrist joint. Back in the earlier 40k action figures, the shield would droop to one side, and this configuration here prevents that issue. So you can obviously tell that this Iliastus assault cannon has a mixture of colors, but I find the black dominates too much of this gun. I would have preferred this drum magazine to be a gunmetal color. However, I do appreciate the winged blood tier iconography as well as this blood tier at the end. I do find the construction of this handle much better than the Leviathan Primaris Terminators because you can easily wrap the hands around the trigger without any sort of problem. I'm finally delighted to tell you that this assault cannon is functional in that you can spin the barrel of the gun around, which adds a sense of realism and makes this weapon more dynamic. One thing you will have to look out for is this black area right here towards the end of the barrel. If you push this area in, it will make this area grind. Moving on to Crimson Paladin number 3, that's how it's listed. As these action figures are meant to be a squad, the overall look is going to be the same. So I'm just going to pick out the details that are different on this action figure versus the one back here that we reviewed earlier. The helmet on this action figure does not have the targeting array, as the figure does not have a heavy weapon, so that array has been replaced with a metallic green lens. While the chest has the same vine-like patterning, there is a death mask-like face that is protruding front and center. I do wish this area on the action figure could be more shaded so you can see more definition, the mouth and creases. And then the toga-like piece of plastic is draped on the opposite side of the figure. And the last difference is that on the bottom of the tabard, there is a red line to give the action figure just a little bit more differentiation than his brother. Then pretty much the rest of the figure follows the same configuration. With regard to the power sword, it follows the same exact design as the other power sword. However, it appears that there's some sort of variation with the blade color gradient. The first weapon that was reviewed looks a lot more dark compared to this one. I find the transitioning of the gunmetal to silver color a bit more smooth on this one than the other one. Now, this power shield is exactly the same in terms of the shape as the other Crimson Paladin, with the golden outlining all around the shield. Even the back of the shield is the same as well. So clearly the major difference is in the designs of the shield. While the first shield over here featured a lot of vine-like growth, this one has a very prominent black winged blood tear at the top, a very large banner that has Angelus that is screened on it, and I like how the 9th Legion designation is also raised from the surface of the shield. So now let's talk about movement. There is restriction of movement of the head on the assault cannon one because of this very large targeting array. You cannot actually have the head go around 360 degrees due to this array right here. However, this is not an issue on the other generic Cataphracti Marines. Earlier I mentioned about this toga region in that it slightly blocks the rotation about the torso, about the hip. As you can see right here, it kind of like drags through, but that is easily remedied by pressing the toga region against the body of the Terminator as you rotate it. I am rotating this completely through. This Terminator actually does not have that problem that I previously featured. It rotates with the top of the action figure. Now let's compare the height as well as the aesthetic of some more modern 40K Terminators. So on the left-hand side, we have a Firstborn Assault Terminator, and you can clearly see that the matte red of this Terminator matches pretty decently to the Crimson Paladins ones. And this Firstborn Terminator actually stands, unfortunately, short compared to his more archaic brethren. And now joining the rest of the Terminator squad mates, we have the Primaris Leviathan Terminator. You can see the color palette on this one is way darker than these two over here. And this Leviathan Primaris Terminator, whatever you want to call him, in the helmet area does stand a bit taller than the Cataphracti Terminator. All right, folks, thank you for joining me in this review. Now please join me in the wrap-up. All right, Blood Angels fans, I think that these two action figures here are excellent representations of what the Blood Angels aesthetic should be like, especially the one with the Ilias's assault cannon, due to the numerous vines on the chest, as well as the third Crimson Paladin that has the very death mask-like chest area. They are really ornate, and I love the power swords that JoyToy has given them. Now, these action figures are not without their various issues. I would have to say the one with the assault cannon, you kind of have to be careful with how you position it, because the wrist ball joint, I don't believe, is going to be sufficient enough to support the weight of the assault cannon. Every single time I tried to pose in the B-reel, it would kind of droop in the front, so I would have to find other methods to kind of prop it up. And then with the Coriolis pattern power shield, this plastic loop over here I was a little bit rough with on the other action figures, so I kind of like ripped the soft plastic off. Now, that is not saying that this is not easy to fix with super glue, but that's something that you're gonna have to watch out for. So I truly believe these are excellent action figures to get. And where should you get them? You should get them at David Toys, where I get all of my action figures. As I had said before repeatedly, they have excellent customer service and they have excellent ship times. And before you check out, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And with that being said, members of the chapter, thank you for watching this action figure review in this new year. I am very excited to see what JoyToy has brewed up for us, and I'm sure there's going to be some excellent action figures. So I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.